They're going to be talking about the Plan B network. So, boys, why don't you come on up and introduce yourself on the way up? I couldn't say your name, dude. I'm not going to mess it up for you.
You say Yakuza, which is...
Yeah, I know. I called him Yakuza earlier.
I will reuse this nick always because Yakuza is very, very cool. And may not even be that illegal here, I guess. Well,
all right.
All right. So, for a change, you start.
All right. So, hello, everyone. Welcome for being here. So, Jack and I have been working on a pretty big project for some time, and we're happy to give you more details on exactly what it is and what we're trying to do to compromise Bitcoin decentralization. I think I'm going to start just because Giacomo has been singing.
This thing here may or may not have something to do with the fact that Rogzy will do most of the talking now. We cannot disclose this information. We cannot confirm nor deny it.
All right, so for the past 3 or 4 years, I've been fighting to get Bitcoin education scale in a more logical way to reach 1 billion person. And last year at Adopting, I showed like a master plan, which consists to have an online Bitcoin university with all the Bitcoin data gathered, translated in multiple languages, that can be used then by local Bitcoin community to build up their strength, and then from there basically educate their local high school, their local gym, their local peer people, and those guys, when they are rent-filled, they go back to the sovereign university to basically learn more about Bitcoin. I thought it was an easy solution, obvious to scale up the educational system.
Just a comment about this. I missed this presentation. I was around chatting with somebody, and just the year before I missed another presentation, and then I missed to follow up when Rogzy first proposed me this in 2018, if it's possible, in Riga, when I was creating the B Foundation to do something similar. Didn't really work out. He approached me to propose this. It was a perfect plan, and I said, yeah, I will write you on Telegram right after. I didn't, ever.
So we lost basically 3 years thanks to Giacomo, but I guess everything comes in time. And the issue and why I want to do that is because this chart, we often talk about only this part, but this is the important aspect. Right now, through all the data I can gather with all the communities leader, we are building one new community every 5 days. It's going to keep growing exponentially. So next year, it's going to be a bull market. We're going to have one new community every 2 years around the world. How do we scale that? It's impossible with the tools that we have right now. And we want more resilience. And we don't want to stop that curve because it's never going to stop. So we need a solution to make it scale. And it's easy. We just create a Bitcoin-focused, worldwide, multi-languages, open-source university with physical hub around the world.
Easy.
Easy. Obviously, when we have such an ambitious and stupid idea, we try to gather people that are as crazy as us, and that's where Giacomo came in.
Yeah, basically, we were discussing with Paolo, that is around here somehow, somewhere, about the education plan in Lugano for the Plan B initiative. Basically, in Lugano, as some of you may know, this partnership with the city started where some kind of local legal tender was implemented. Of course, the city cannot really implement a legal tender, but there was this effort to make merchants accept Bitcoin in Lugano, and there was a lot of educational effort involved into that, like a Lugano summer school with hundreds of students from all around the world, a Lugano Plan B forum, which some of you may have attended. Is a very cool Bitcoin-only conference, second edition last year, and then there were other things, including also a lot of relationship with the town council, the creation of a few funds for startup, and something you will see later. But anyway, me and Paolo were mostly focused on education in Lugano. But then we thought that we were ready to try to scale up the template to other places around the world, and we wanted a structure that made sense, and this time we finally met.
And so, and from that collaboration between Fulgur, Paolo, Giacomo, and I, basically Plan B Network is trying to launch. The logo will change. And the idea of Plan B is quite easy.
Yeah, just let me clarify. So there is a great educator in Germany, the block trainer, that has the same logo. You know, just like Newton and Leibniz, sometimes great minds just came to the same conclusion. But anyway, this is provisional. This is just a vanilla Plan B logo of Lugano with a hat. So this is not the final logo. Give us some time, and there will be the final logo.
We spend more time arguing about the design than actually doing anything else, or it will come along. The idea is to centralize Bitcoin educational data to get a better distribution. Basically, this is Giacomo's slide from Lugano. He likes making complex things because, I don't know, physicians. That was perfect, decentralized, but really inefficient, a lot of chaos. This is probably too centralized, but we're going to do it so then you can take the data, because it's open source, and distribute it. So
I want to point out that this slide may not seem nauseous enough, but because you're not seeing the animation. If you finally get the video of my presentation in Lugano, you will see that with PowerPoint animation. That's even more like uneasy to see.
Yeah. Yeah, the issue is that everyone is doing the same thing. A lot of people are recreating Bitcoin 101. People don't have enough time or energy or money or skills to move to like really advanced educational course on RGB, SDK. So we need to basically increase the scope of Bitcoin education to really create the engineers of tomorrow.
Sorry, get to that just a second. We're not talking about like small stuff necessarily. This stuff here, just to give you an example, is an actual executive master of a real university, real fiat university in Turin, Bitcoin executive master launched by Bitpolito. This one was a program that everybody knows, Cubo Plus, here in El Salvador. There are a lot of very concrete stuff.
This one, I'm setting one Lightning node in every school of El Salvador, so 6,000 schools that need to be taught how to use Lightning nodes. It's not trivial.
The three universities of Lugano, Franklin, Supes, and Uzi, signed a paper of intent with the town council about Bitcoin education. So there is big stuff going on here. So the need for centralization is even stronger.
And so we want one repo to rule them all. So basically, with the Bitcoin, we've created like the Sovereign University database. It's a repo where we have a massive library of resources, as you will see. We have already search information, a massive database of questions that is increasing almost every day. We have 70 tutorials from really just a basic wallet to advanced RGB creation of token, let's say. And everything has been made so it can be translated instantly in a lot of languages. So to basically copy that database and put it in Danish, or whatever language it will take basically 1 day to just translate all the Bitcoin knowledge, which is really, really important. So the Plan B network platform is basically two things. There's one repo which is only the data, and everyone can add data, fork it. And one is the new LMS that we are building from scratch. So it's a learning management system that we are rebuilding, because all the previous ones were not flexible enough to integrate Bitcoin, Lightning, testnet, or the tools that we wanted, they could be censored. So we thought, okay, we're not going to just use what the classical university are using. We're going to rebuild something from scratch so it can be a Bitcoin native e-learning platform.
So to emphasize this even more, this is open, voluntary centralization. Like you want to participate, most likely you just do a pull request and we will get your course there. If we think it's good enough, it's in the right position to not create an overcomplicated path, we will get it in. But if we, But if we don't, you still fork the entire code of the platform and you do your own Plan B network. Of course, you don't call that, otherwise we'll sue you. No, I'm just joking, we will not. But it's not gonna call it that, it's confusing. But you can fork it and do your own, completely open source. All the data, so all the courses that are already published, and all the code to basically track, subscribe, aggregate the courses.
Yeah, obviously there's a code of ethics, so we are Bitcoin only, focus on peer-to-peer privacy. If you try to chill something that is just has nothing to do in the Bitcoin library, we obviously will reject you.
To clarify this, long-term, the Plan B network initiative will not be Bitcoin only, not in the sense of shitcoins, but in the sense of other things that are a Plan B to something. Bitcoin is the Plan B for money. We may expand a little bit to Plan B for communication, so emphasizing courses about peer-to-peer, end-to-end encryption and stuff like that. Or we can go from mining, we could connect to a peer-to-peer education on thermodynamic and energy, because everybody in the fiat world has complete magical thinking about energy. So we could expand from Bitcoin radially to other topics, and eventually we can end up doing something like, something crazy like nutrition or whatever. But we will start Bitcoin contiguous so that the vegan friends can still not be triggered.
Yeah, so we have 72 tutorials, all well designed with video, text, translated, easily accessible. So basically, if someone asks for specific tutorials on any wallet, he can basically just find it from that platform because we have every tutorials on every exchange, wallet, nodes, and if we're missing one, the repo is open for contribution, so you can always help. We have a lot of resources. We are gathering all the podcasts based by languages. We have 300 books. We're going to provide the PDF version if it's open source. If not, maybe someone in the comment will give you a website that get you the book, or you can just buy them. We also have all the newsletter, all the conference, research papers. So we basically gather all the data, we curate it, so then you can better use it on your own website and you don't have to maintain a giant library. And the issue right now is that there's a lot of websites doing that, like JSON Loop or the Gigi, but no one goes to the very far of, okay, well, we want all the data in an organized way, because it's just too much time consuming. With our repo, we have 50 volunteers. We have 100 of people that have contributed to get that database together. So then once it's here, we can easily maintain it. And I don't think it's necessary to have multiple databases. You can just fork the code and remove if you need something super specific. And then we have courses. A big argument will be how we present it. But basically, right now, we already have 12 courses, ranging from Bitcoin 101 to just understand the theory, security, how to get your password manager, your 2FA, how to obtain your first Bitcoin, all the way to Australian economics, peer-to-peer market, Kubo Plus development on Bitcoin, cryptography, traditional math, and on Bitcoin, study of hyperinflation, etc.
A lot of effort and also a lot of fighting among us is going on to work on this structure and how to represent it. What we want, and it's not an easy task, is to give a noob a very clean, very natural flow from a very simple path to branches into specialization. So the idea is that when you enter Plan B Network and you click I'm a complete noob, the orange peeling is very natural, flowing without overcomplication. You don't have to choose between several resources. You get guided. The more you go down into the rabbit hole, the more you can get an opinionated choice of paths, the more there is branching, there are options, there are alternatives, and you can get into a very personalized, very specific path of knowledge. But up here, it should be very natural, and that's a hard task. Like the one hard task was collecting and cleaning up in a structured way all the material. And Rogzy did an amazing job, and now part of that is automated and also community driven. So that's a hard task that we are basically already on top of. The other hard task is to present these in the most natural way. This is still work in progress. So if you go right now in planb.network, it's not what we want finally. That's evolved a lot in the next few months.
Yeah, exactly. And so the idea is that basically people are going to specialize because we all want to learn a lot about Bitcoin, but some people are really dev, some people just care about Austrian economics or finance or something else. So you can basically just follow the path with all the courses, to go in depth in your specialty to get then a Bitcoin job, for example. Obviously, we have a lot of courses coming. We already have recorded Taproot, the new Taproot courses by Jimmy Song. We have a course on RGB, Rust SDK coming out in the platform. So from just 12 to like, I'd say beginners to average, we are moving to like more advanced courses for Bitcoiners, for builders. And like Giacomo was saying, we can move on to peer-to-peer communication, energy, taxes, sovereignty.
I didn't say I want to tax it, but anyway, this is descriptive, not prescriptive. So this is how taxation work, and then you can see whatever you can do about that.
Yeah, it'd be a shame if someone explained, for example, how some countries have more incentive to lower the taxes than
That's
others.
just science, descriptive.
So yeah, the idea is to always to help the communities create new projects. So if we need to provide courses on accounting, we will. So then you can be a better entrepreneur. Online education it's scalable, it's really efficient, but Bitcoin is social. So we need those type of gathering. We need communities. We need the new person coming into industry to basically talk to a Bitcoin mentor, someone that can be trusted. So to do that, we have multiple tools that I want to build or have been built and need to be improved. One of them is the peer-to-peer mentoring system. I'm thinking we could use Open Kit, we'll figure it out. Basically, I want you, Bitcoin educators, or you to be able to provide hours, time to noob if they need, and basically matching the teacher with the students for very specific topic. So if you are really advanced on RGB, you can answer RGB question at a free rate, and basically the platform become an interconnection between the students and the teachers.
This also is not live yet, so you're not going to find this Kit connection yet. We're working on that. It will be ready when it's ready.
Yeah. What we did do, and is already live, is basically for the past year I've been working with all the Bitcoin, well, most of the Bitcoin communities to get them on BTC maps. So the German have agreed, the Italian, the Spanish, the UK, and France have all agreed to put all their data on BTC maps. So we have only one big database gathering all the Bitcoin communities. And Britannia made a square, and I hate them for that. But the idea with that is that now any students of the platform, if it has a question, it can just go on the map, find the closest meetup, the closest community, and go talk to them. So then it doesn't have to be unpersonal, because immediately after his first 5 hours studying Bitcoin, he will basically see the map at some point and be like, okay, well, when is the next meetup in my town? Where can I go talk to a Bitcoiner? And if he's, I don't know, in Ireland, he will just go to the classic pub, have a beer with Bitcoiners, talk about it, and then maybe join a conference and be able to get that social connection, understand the Bitcoin culture through meetups.
This is an example of our mantra, which is not reinventing the wheel. So leveraging open source best practices. Instead of every little educational movement recreating a map, we just contacted Nathan and we say that BTC map is the database. Of course, we are like forking the data into the server, but they will be upstream to everything. So every change will be done by them. We will also give them grant to change the map and keep it up to date. And every kind of data we will insert in the Plan B network will also go to the BTC map. So that will be a total global repository, so that we don't reinvent the wheel every time. And same with Kit, like let's not recreate a specific tool for communication within the platform. Let's use stuff that work.
Exactly. The idea is always to be really resilient. So if we both get corrupted, you can just still use the platform without us, and also the data is accessible.
Just an example, but to be absurd.
Another thing I've created and I want people to start using is the Bitcoin educational toolkit. We have BDK, we have SDK. Why don't we have packages ready for builders around the world to use? It makes absolutely no sense. Mi Primer Bitcoin is type of doing it with the diploma. It's one package that can be deployed to a community. I think we need to duplicate that to hundreds of packages. So we have all the courses of Plan B. We have an illustration that can be downloaded and used for your own meetups, your own presentation. We have 21 giant posters, 3 meters tall, 2 meters wide, that I've made, that are translated in multiple languages, open source, common created, that can be reused. And we also not only have like educational package to be deployed as courses, but also visual content to be used by builders to create their own courses. So we have a giant library of hyperinflation bill in HD, a propaganda poster, just in case it's a cult. It's definitely not a cult. Bitcoin stickers, etc. So basically, just in one click, you get access to that massive database of educational content that you can use for yourself. And everything is on GitHub. So again, open source, easy to fork.
Of course, kudos to when we say we have these, is because Anil made these open source reusable. Same goes for Mi Primero Bitcoin, which is so important here in El Salvador. So these people build the content and use the magic of the open source idea to make it possible to aggregate all this content in a rational way into a specific single platform.
Exactly. So for example, with BTC Pay server, we can say, no, we are helping them having their course. It's going to be like a 3 days intensive course. The idea is that it's a package, and any community can take that package and teach how to use the BTC server at their own level communities. And so then the people can use that technology to help their merchant. It's an example, but I think that's how we should scale education, to have the good open source projects spread through communities. For the poster, for example, I was mentioning, they used it in Africa. So there was Bitcoin Mastermind. It's a conference in Benin. I couldn't send them the poster. It was too expensive. But they just reprinted it and put it in the town center so everyone could go and see them. We can do that in every community. It's really easy. So basically, the thing is, stop reinventing the wheel. And if you create something cool, share it. Make it online. Make it open source. Make it on the GitHub, or we'll just take it and put it on the GitHub if it's open license on the the copyright, and then other people or the community can use it. Another example that worked and no one is talking enough or replicating is that thing. Who knows what that is? almost, yeah, very few person. It's basically a giant Figma with a flyer to help onboard merchant. And that flyer and that Figma has been translated in 70 languages and make variables for every wallet. And basically, Bitcoin communities around the world are just using that flyer, they print it locally, and they go give it to merchant. Super efficient. Why do we only have that for flyers of merchant? It should be done for energy, it should be done for peer-to-peer communication, for privacy, and just have a database of really nice, well-made design flyers that can be just printed locally and distributed. So we don't recreate bad design every time we have an idea. So yeah, stop reinventing the wheel. The last project that will be implemented in the platform, and I really want to emphasize, is the Bitcoin adoption standard. Same, why don't we have one place where we can see all the best practices of communities? Bitpolito did an amazing job in Turin or in Italy to have like a university community growing. Berlin made an amazing job onboarding 70 merchants here in El Salvador. Uzulutan and the team have been doing an amazing job setting up the first Lightning node. Bitcoin Beach have done it. Where can we get the manifesto of that? Where can we get the blueprint of what they're building so then other community can look at the blueprint, criticize it, take example, rate it, and reuse it at their own house, at their own community? We need somewhere so people can propose a standard for adoption like microbanking or community building. So it's not completely dispersed, but it's a bit more centralized, I guess. And yes, Giacomo, maybe if you want to elaborate on that.
As Rogzy said before, an online platform is important and fundamental, but it's not enough. The informational and emotional bandwidth that we can create in physical reunion is impossible to recreate with online communication. So we need physical places. My experience in the Lugano lab, in the Milan lab back from 2014 to 2018 was having physically the best Bitcoin developers and mine in the same room, in the same place, sharing food, sharing time together. So physical coexistence is key. Without physical coexistence, I'm skeptical we would have the bold standard. The bold standard happened because Blockstream, Lightning Labs, Async, Bitfury, Blockchain Info developer has been basically kidnapped and kept closed in a room in Milan with pizza provided from the door. That was the only way. The open timestamp standard happened because one guy was closed into the door with other poor guys that have to suffer the open timestamp standard and basically commit to that. Same for RGB and other efforts. So these was my experience in Milan, and we want to replicate that in the physical nodes of the network. That doesn't mean that every single node of the network will be a full-blown Bitcoin citadel. The idea is to have some level of hierarchy. We will track small informal communities, like people hanging out in a pub once a week. That's already a local community that you can find on a Plan B map, which is also a BTC map. But then you can have a light node, which is a place with actually a hacker space with a 3D printer to print guns. No, I'm joking. To print cases for nodes and to do stuff like that. You can have an archival node, which is basically some place with actual office space, a relaxed zone where you can rent a desk. You can have a hub, which is also a place with a restaurant and full-blown offices. Or you can have a citadel, which is a full-blown university campus where students can also sleep and political refugees can hide in the dungeons. So we will have a hierarchy of nodes.
Yeah, and the idea is that, so if you want to be part of the network, it's completely open. And we want to basically provide you with educators, courses, go to your hub to create a specific mining courses, bring educators, bring notoriety. And the Lugano hub is going to be a great example, and also like
Lugano hub will be huge, will be open and probably in February or something like that. And we are going to visit very soon I mean, it's a hard work, but somebody has to fly to Honduras to see this place. I mean, somebody has to do it. So we will do it shortly.
So yeah, so if you want to be part of the network, obviously it's open. If you don't want, you can just basically use our resources, and we don't really care. You can do it anonymously. We don't really care. Everything is open source anyway. The idea is really to build for resiliency. So we want to have like a one button to download all the database of Bitcoin knowledge. You can have it on torrent. It needs to be shared. We need backup. We need to stop using YouTube for specific critical things because they're gonna shadow ban us or remove us. You can fork code. You distribute the knowledge. You build your own community. We prepare for apocalypse, and that's possible thanks to you because it's the Bitcoin communities around the world that will basically be the safety net for insanity in the coming decade.
Let me add the last thing before we close up. Not all of these will be non-profit just because. We have a foundation set up in Lugano that has some money that will be useful to bootstrap local community, to help people out, and we will use that. But the idea is that stuff should be self-sustainable in the future. So this operation will include for-profit operation, nothing shameful about that. We will never allow for commercial use of open source, non-commercial stuff. So the things that have been contributed as open source will always be free, but if we organize a physical course with Jimmy Song in the hub of Honduras of 2 days, Jimmy will get paid and people will pay. Maybe we will provide scholarship for students, but they will be paid and somebody will be paying. If we take the recording of a physical course and somebody will spend days into editing that into a very smooth edited version, that's work and that will get paid in Satoshis. Of course, when some material will just be replaced by new material, all the material that is already there and doesn't require any new work will be released free, open source, common creative, without any commercial license. But in the platform, very soon, hopefully already the beginning of 2024, you will have the capability to deposit Satoshis to buy services from all the teachers and the nodes in the network. So it's a commercial initiative as well.
Yeah, at the end, everything will be open source. It's just there's 1 year latency between what we produce and it's like a premium and the content. The idea is just to help Bitcoin education on the large scales. Thank you.
Sorry, I ruined the climatic moment. So there was a good ending on the presentation, but my bad timing changed it. So let's assume we end it with a very effective emotional sentence.
All right.